Through the My Toyota store, you can enjoy hassle-free online buying for your Toyota genuine parts and all make parts. With an electronic parts catalog containing over 400,000 Toyota genuine parts, all accessible through a model serial search so you can take the guesswork out of identifying the correct part for your equipment. Get started today at shop.toyotaforklift.com. That's shop.toyotaforklift.com. Welcome to this bonus episode of The New Warehouse, where we went live on LinkedIn to talk about increasing 3PL profits and creating better transparency between your 3PL and your clients. On this episode, we hear about Deliverzen's journey from ex-bull rider Drew Horner, and we dive into how they leverage a new tool for 3PLs called Octup. We are also joined by Octup founder Alon Partok to dive deeper into what they are bringing to the market. If you are a 3PL or an e-commerce brand working with a 3PL, you want to listen to this episode.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
All right, we are live this morning with the New Warehouse Podcast live, and today we're going to be talking about increasing what everybody wants to increase, profits, of course. We're going to be talking about increasing your 3PL profits with better data visibility, and we're going to talk about a tool that allows you to do that inside your 3PL and add value to not only your 3PL, but also the brands that you work with and your clients. So it's kind of a win-win on both sides, and we'll dive into the technical aspects, explanation of that later on, but I'm going to be joined today by Alon Partok, who is the CEO and founder at Octup, which is that tool that we're going to talk about a little bit later, and also going to be joined by Drew Horner, who is the CEO and founder at Deliverzen, which is a 3PL. So Alon and Drew, welcome to the show this morning. How are you both?
Doing good. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you having us on.
Definitely.
Good. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Happy to get you both on. Happy to talk about this. I think it's a very exciting thing that's going on and just kind of coming to the market a little bit, I think, recently. And we're going to dive into that. But I want to kind of start as a baseline foundation to the conversation with Drew here a little bit, hear from him on the 3PL side, kind of get some of his background, how he came to start Deliverzen as the founder over there, and talk a little bit about some of the challenges he's going through from a brand client relationship side and just understanding their data visibility overall. So Drew, why don't you kind of kick us off here and give us a little bit about your background and how that kind of led up to you founding Deliverzen?
Yeah, totally. So I have a little bit of a unique background, and I didn't come into the business world or come into anything wanting to build a logistics company. I knew I always wanted to start a company, but it wasn't necessarily going to be logistics. I actually come from I used to be a professional rodeo cowboy, so I rode horses for 10 years.
Oh,
and then I
interesting.
got out of yeah, very different. I retired from that when I was 26, and I went into the workforce and was working for a company that was doing direct sales jewelry at the time. And it wasn't even my idea to start a logistics company out of that. They had about 170,000 square foot facility there. Half of it was office and half of it was warehousing. And I was on the marketing side. And the question came to the table is, how can we increase revenue? And somebody else came up with, why don't we just sell our services of operations to some of our friends? So that started happening. And I started selling it because I was on the marketing and sales side, and brought in, at the time, this is probably 2017 or so, brought in, I don't know how many customers, probably 30 customers over the next year or so. just through networking and various different customers all over. And then we quickly realized that we really didn't know what we were doing running a 3PL. And so we had to back it off and back that down to like 10 customers at the time, and kind of slowly in and out, just 8 or 10 customers. And then really from there, it was more so a mix for the next year or two until about January 2020. It was more just a mix of like trying to figure out how to be a 3PL while focusing on serving that other business that we were in at the time. Some of the original people that were a part of the idea of, at the time, a different company name we were to build up and go, their original idea of Deliverzen, they ended up leaving and kind of going off and doing their own stuff. And so I was kind of the last one left and had an opportunity to break away from that existing company in January of 2020. So I took it away completely, all the logistics. And at the time was probably, I don't even know, maybe 8 customers or so. And so just been building up and growing from there. This past year or so, we really focused on building out our operations. So the past year and a half, we want to get really quality systems in place, quality partnerships, and get really streamlined operations. So hired on some guys that have some really good experience in the industry, really focused on operations, and then focused on building out our service model and get our onboarding really dialed in. And then this past 6 months or so, I've been focusing on sales, and there's been a lot of things that we'll probably talk about here that have really helped us in our growth in the past quarter and the past 2 quarters really. And it's been super nice. And so now we're building out more of a sales team and just really growing the business. And it's been a fun journey, just trying to really, I love building a business. I love like being creative and problem solving and all of that. And it's been incredible to figure that out in logistics, because that's really, logistics is just constantly problem solving. So it's been a heck of a journey for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I'm curious. I mean, is it harder to ride a bull than it is to run a 3PL, or what's more difficult?
It's funny. It's riding a bull is more life threatening than that, but no, it's funny. I have a ton of friends of mine who are bull riders, and those guys are the toughest suckers you'll ever meet. You need to go check out. There's an influencer on it. Go follow him, Dale Brisby. I'll give him a shout out. He's a funny character, but he claims to be the greatest bull rider that's ever lived. Anyway, it's just fun stuff. If you want to see some bull riding, go look at that guy.
All right. Sounds good. And very interesting story there. Definitely interesting to hear that. So I'm curious, you mentioned there you started with about like 30 brands you said you brought in, and realized like, this is too much to try and figure this out right now, and kind of pared that back a little bit. I mean, what is like Deliverzen's focus right now? Do you focus on like a certain type of product, certain type of brand? What's kind of like your niche?
Yeah, great question on that. So I'll answer it in kind of twofold. And that is that, we backed off because our mission is to deliver the best service in the order fulfillment industry, not necessarily all of logistics or anything. We wanted to deliver the best service. And so in order to do that, you had to make sure that your foundation was solid. And so at the time, it was like we can just keep scaling and then get kind of messed up and probably not quote have the best opportunity for success and reputation and everything. So what we did was just, at the time, it was just me again. All these other people that already failed had already kind of moved on. So we cut back, and then ironically, and out of my own ignorance, really, I lucked into the fact that I cut back to like, didn't even really think about it, but to customers that were all of like products, and those like products tended to be cosmetics and wellness products. And so it worked out really well. And at the time, I didn't even know the benefits of what I was doing, but I'd cut out, I'd cut out apparel companies at the time. I'd cut out some accessories and things like that, and really only focused on cosmetics and wellness. And so now, just through that kind of move, 90% of what we do is cosmetics and wellness, which is nice. We're FDA registered facility, fully climate controlled facility. So nice. Our systems default to setting up for those, which is super nice. And so it's actually made our ability to serve other brands now, other product lines like apparel and accessories and bags and things like that, a lot easier, just because when you're handling cosmetics and wellness and you take on some other product that's under 5 pounds that fits in a shoebox that may not need, expiration dates or lot tracking or anything like that, you're kind of already default set up to run for it, which is super nice. So our main focus is cosmetics and wellness. That's about 90% of what we do, but then we do have the ability now to service some other product lines if we want to take them on. So
Cool. Yeah. And I love that you, it sounds like you kind of unintentionally started to steer yourself in that direction, and then, figured it out from there. And I kind of love that evolution, and like you said, the problem solving that comes along with the business itself. So very interesting to hear this story there. So I'm curious, you've been doing this for a little while now, a couple of years, right? And, as you've kind of grown, evolved, and not necessarily coming from the background of logistics or anything like that, and you've tried to navigate the 3PL landscape and get to where you are today. What are some of like the biggest challenges that you faced or that you still see even maybe today or recently within the 3PL landscape itself?
We'll be back after a quick break.
When it comes to systems, you want something that will start showing results fast. You're looking for a tool that can enable your 3PL or warehouse to get to the next level. So why wait? That's why Carton Cloud provides supported, fast onboarding that can have your WMS up and running in hours, not months. Jump into Carton Cloud's easy-to-use workflows for all of your services, including cross-docking, serialized inventory tracking, e-commerce order fulfillment, and more. This software is built by logistics people for logistics people, and those logistics people are standing by to help train you and support you so that you can be successful with your customer. With 24/7 real-time reporting and free online training, you need to check out Carton Cloud for your operation. Take the next step in your operation by heading to cartoncloud.com/free-demo or click the link in the show notes.
Yeah, there's the biggest challenge we've probably faced in Deliverzen is more so ironing out just the partnerships and relationships that we have in order to serve our customers the best. So that goes everything from carrier negotiations and price to which carriers want to use for which product lines and which customers like different carriers to the partnerships that we use even now with Octup and some other guys that we work with. I think the biggest challenge is when you have a mix of similar product lines and customers, but then you have a mix of different styles of customers, right? Different personalities. You're making sure that you're serving those brands, where they're selling it. If they're selling on recently TikTok Shop, how that's been popping off, or if they're on Shopify or WooCommerce, or if maybe they have a team of 20 people and they're building a $50 million brand, or if they're a team of 3 people that are building a $1 million brand. It's all very different, various sizes and various needs and different complexities. And so I think for us is we've really focused on building out solid partnerships and really solid service and onboarding to where not only do we have our team internally that knows we know Shopify well, we know WooCommerce, we know we know these mainstream platforms, we know custom integrations where we can handhold brands that need it to help them, like, here's how we integrate, or here's how X works, this product works inside of Shopify or TikTok Shop. But also the partnerships that we've formed that have come alongside what we're doing that we are covering for our customers, like Octup's one of those, to be fully transparent. So the industry is notorious for saying, oh, we're fully transparent, but the reality is like it still seems hard to understand people's invoices. It's still hard to understand your financial inventory reporting, which a lot of what Octup solves here that they'll talk about. And so it's what can we do to be transparent and show our customers that we're living up to our SLAs, and how can we show our customers just literally inside of our warehouse as much as possible when they're based in Australia or they're based in Canada or they're in another state or whatever it is. How can we show them this data? And those are the biggest challenges, was just being able to take on that variety of customers while still meeting all of their needs, and then also showing them and educating and showing them, here's what you need, here's the tools, and then we're the logistics pros. Give it to us. We'll take that off your plate. You just go build and sell your brand. And so being able to build out that model for all of your customers is probably the biggest tactic the biggest struggle that we've been facing over the years, that bringing on partners like Octup has helped us solve.
Yeah, interesting. And I think it's really interesting that you mentioned there kind of the different personalities of the clients too, because I think, at the end of the day, everybody just wants their stuff to ship, right? And ship correct, and, ship as fast as possible in most scenarios. And, but there is that differentiation between those personalities and clients and things of that nature. So very interesting there to hear that from you. We got John here raising his hand. John, how are you, sir?
I'm doing all right, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well. What do you want to say here?
I'm gonna give you a hard time, buddy. Only because only because of the fact that it's actually like something I try to help people with a lot, and I push a lot because I think it's important, especially for 3PLs, for example, that don't have access to billions of dollars like some of these major retailers. 2 things. One, I posted an auto store kind of setup today, just for people to look at and actually see the scale of these things and how big they're getting. But then 2, like, so, the concept of like automation and keeping up, especially when you're talking about SLAs and, quality of performance, pick accuracy, all of these things from the type of work that you do. And then the second thing, and this I want you to change my mind and like prove me wrong, but like, what would you say are people really doing to get ready for social commerce? And I'll put that in context in the sense that, having a TikTok shop integration or something like that is one thing. But for the most part, most demand is built on some pretty cyclic or expected or planned sort of product movement, product distribution. For example, oh, a brand's going to run a sale. Oh, they have X amount of history, or they have whatever. One thing that I try to share a lot is the fact that I think a lot of 3PLs are going to struggle with, I'll call it seasonality, not in the sense of the weather, but like the fact that any product now will be able to blow up on TikTok or Instagram or whatever immediately, have a very, very different sales or distribution trajectory. Might last for a week, might last for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden it's gonna be some totally different product that might be in the wrong place in the warehouse, or the might, the wrong pick face, whatever it could be, the wrong amount of on-hand inventory versus reserve, all of these types of things. How do you guys see yourselves positioning for like a world that's becoming hugely invested in capital, and then also really, really volatile when it comes to customer demand? Because I think a lot of 3PL activity has been, a lot of warehousing, I should say 3PL, a lot of warehousing activity benefits from being able to understand trends and sort of predict future sales on recent trends. And I'll kind of just stop there.
Thanks, John. Are you asking me like how are brands preparing to sell and market on social commerce, or is it more?
No, I'm asking like how you as a 3PL provider are feeling that you're getting prepared for the fact that the flow of products might start to dramatically change compared to what it's traditionally been.
Yeah, so flow of products being like influencer posts, and you have 10,000 orders in one day.
Yeah, exactly. And then and then it's the next one and the next one, and you don't really know which ones are hitting or why.
Yeah, it's uncertain plan. Yeah, it's uncertain labor planning, all that fun stuff. So some of the things that makes total sense, John, and I get it. This past year we've really dialed in and tried to really focus on that. We do quite a bit of influencer-backed brands, and so we have a pretty good idea of when an influencer posts, what they're going to do. And there's some factors that we take in. I actually luckily have some good relationships with some influencers, and so I talk to them on the back end about how they do their marketing. I've been talking about that for years. So forecasting how well an influencer is going to do, I can't sit there and guarantee things, but we do a pretty good job of what that post could probably do just internally, just with our own experience and what we know. But the things that we do operationally to kind of protect on that, this is really good on how we manage this with customers, is that we require our customers to get on at least monthly calls with us, at least, if not weekly and bi-weekly. And those calls, we're not just doing like quarterly reviews, but on those calls, we're going to talk about a few things. One of those things, John, is forecasting. So we want to make sure 2 weeks ahead of time, we're getting a forecast. And we know that customers aren't going to know exact numbers all the time. And like you talked about, John, it's a social commerce society here. The culture is what's happening. And all of a sudden you hit some micro influencer and that thing goes viral and it pops off and you've got, 100x orders in a week, which makes total sense. It happens all the time. But what we're talking about doing is we get on these calls, our entire team is on there, our account rep that's on that call from, our director of operations is on these calls, our IT manager is on this call. And through that, we're talking about forecasting with them to make sure that we know what's coming, and we'll start planning that out with them. So as we plan this out, that's great. We can build out the labor. We show them, hey, if this is the volume you're going to hit, here's your labor. Here's how many days you might hit in SLAs on delays. If you want more, we can speed that up with X amount of labor. We can make those plans with them. But on the flip side of that too, is we actually put something in place to talk about our customers, which this doesn't necessarily answer your question, John, but it's a way that we address kind of the labor market for this and how we manage labor, is that we commit to customers on a rolling forecast of your previous 30 days, 110%. It's a common thing. You guys have heard about it. It's not like we're not the only ones doing that, but it's really just like essentially a spike protection or just an order protection flow for this. So if we're looking at the previous 30 days, you're doing 100 orders a day, we're contractually committing to 110. Orders that day. We do that by the biggest difference that what we do though is we do it by brand, not by warehouse. So we're looking at individually brands of what they're doing. So operationally, we're protecting that a little bit just on ourselves, and we communicate that on the front end to customers, even through the sales and onboarding process. But in the back end, as we're managing customers, is we're on those calls with them and we're forecasting it with them as best we can. So there's no guarantee when a spike comes in John, that we're going to be able to have the labor in to get everything out there 100% within it. But we make sure we communicate on the front end with those customers. And we have quite a bit of experience handling influencer-backed brands, and especially influencer posts, and what it is to really read well what an influencer would do, whether it's TikTok Shop or Instagram or whatever it is. For example, I'll just kind of close out with this. It's like, I'm not an influencer by no means, or a marketer or any of that stuff. But when it comes to TikTok Shop specifically, we have a brand. We have the founder of the brand come to us and millions of followers. This is a very large influencer. And they came to us, and when they said, when we're running promotional products on TikTok Shop or promotions, we're seeing that when we go to 100 micro influencers rather than going to one mainstream influencer, we're getting a lot more return on that. So they're spending less because they don't have to pay for a huge post. So they're spending less across 100 of them. And then one of those hits goes viral on TikTok Shop because things just go viral on TikTok, and they're getting more return out of that. So there's a whole difference in that versus kind of the way it historically has been with Instagram, and you pay for a post and you get big hits on that. So there's different tactics for different shops. And then for us, we're prepared just to kind of look at what we've learned backing these influencers and also forecasting with our customers.
Awesome. And I give you total credit for being able to answer that. You'd be surprised on how many people can't answer that question. So it's like, that's very cool. And then maybe not now if you want, but like, I'm curious too, then from your position, like where you guys sit on automation and stuff, right? Especially if you're thinking about your profitability and all of these different brands, like what you handle is extremely delicate and small, doesn't necessarily work maybe as easily as some other products. But, how often is that question coming up, or that, kind of, I'll say concern, but I'll put that in quotes, like from customers, in the sense of being like, hey, everybody, like, Walmart and Target and Amazon and all of these big brands that are trying to run marketplaces, they're all trying to get my product. They're all trying to use some type of, automated or fully automated facility. Yeah. What do you do to stand up against that, or to, whether it's on your roadmap or not, but I mean, not everybody's in the same place at the same time. So how do you guys, approach that, without having to discount to the point that, your profits are taking a huge hit, in the face of the fact that some of these places are using a lot of robotics to drop costs?
So I totally understand, John, where you're coming from. I personally am in this game for another 10 years at least. So it's like, I'm not going anywhere. So I have to think about AI and robotics and all that's coming in right now. Initially, AI and robotics, probably everybody knows, it's like, it's not quite worth the investment for a size like us right now. And you're seeing it. However, we are every week I'm talking to different companies that are doing that, and I'm super interested in it because I need to be prepared for it. I think in a few years, it's gonna, let's just say 5 years is kind of probably where my guess would be, where it's going to start having a pretty big impact on operations. I don't think brands will necessarily care unless the automation is able to reduce the costs on the brand directly, which it could, at certain point eventually. But right now, operationally, I don't think we haven't come across many brands that would turn away from us because we don't have robots, and so it's like they don't seem to really worry about it too much. But I do think that I don't know the answer to that yet, but I have been every week in on it. We actually have AI stuff that we're doing internally right now just to test out and build and learn it and be a part of it. So I think in 5 years, it's going to be something that we're going to have to really operationally be in tune with and maybe be implementing something. But so we're not far away from it being effective, but there's these companies that are doing it fully automated, which I think is great. And I actually love it and that they're doing it. It's just from our side of it, from a business perspective, it just doesn't quite make sense yet to implement that. And brands, all brands that we've ever talked to, they only care about making sure their orders get out on time and they get there within the service level that their customer is expecting. And so they don't really necessarily worry about it, whether there's AI or robotics in our operation as much.
Guys, just want to jump in. Sorry for interrupt. I think one of the thing that we are trying to solve, or literally solving in Octup, is one of the issues that you both mentioned, right? How we can get the ability to proactively manage our clients, how we can get kind of a predictive analysis about what will be next. Of course, we can, identify anomalies that outside of the basic norm, but a lot of the frictions you just mentioned and, the pains of how I can get better access or better ways to manage my client as a 3PL is part of our solution in Octup. And I think I didn't have the chance to share more, but I think that it's definitely what we're trying to solve.
Yeah. So thank you, John, for that. Definitely great questions there. And I see Rich wants to ask a question too. So we'll have Rich ask a question, and then we'll dive into Octup here, because I think that will shed some light too on some of the things we've been talking about, as well as Alon mentioned here. So hey, Rich, how you doing?
Good. What's up, fellas? Yeah, I mean, my question was pretty pointed. You might be covering this next, but understanding, Drew, that you have everything in place, and I'm not sure how often you're talking to your active clients. Maybe it would have been great to have like an AM on here, but what are they finding is the biggest value with your relationship with Octup from the data perspective? Like, what is the one thing, I guess, that you guys are providing in terms of insight because of Octup that you know for fact is knocking it out of the park with your current customers?
Yeah, thanks, Rich. So from an operational side, 3PL side, there's two or three things that I would probably point towards. But just from our side as a Deliverzen, it's just full transparency and invoicing. They have, and Elon can talk about this more. The way I tell customers, our customers, it's a digestible view of a 3PL invoice. So we give our customers a PDF and an Excel file detail of every order, everything we did. But when you integrate into Octup, it really helps them break it out into dashboards, which is super nice. So they can see it just makes their questions on invoicing a lot easier. Also, SLA performance. You can plug in SLAs inside of there. And Elon's, they're making that way better as well. So holding us accountable just on our SLAs makes it easy for them, which is super nice. But then one of the cooler features that most of our customers have really liked is just the ability to integrate all their marketing tools inside of it and to really determine their ROAS and all their fun marketing stuff that they look at. So those are probably the top three that I think the best feedback we've gotten from some of our current customers that are doing it. And Elon can talk a lot more about Octup and tell you a lot more about it. But those are probably the top three, Rich.
Appreciate it, Drew. Yeah, those are the ones that intrigued me the most. So it's good to hear that.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for that, Rich. And so why don't we dive into Octup here? We've been teasing a little bit. Let's stop the teasing. Let's dive in. So, Alon, you want to tell us a little bit about your background, and you're the founder at Octup. So tell us a little bit of your background and kind of what Octup is overall.
We'll be back after a quick break.
I hope you're enjoying this episode. Do you want more warehouse content delivered to your inbox? Sign up for our new email series called Warehouse Wisdom Wednesday to get an educational series of emails on warehouse basics delivered directly to you every Wednesday morning. Find the sign up link in the show notes.
Yeah, so I never ride a ball like Drew. Maybe I will have opportunity in the future. I did some, risky stuff in my life, but never this kind of things. But it's always an opportunity to aim to do exciting stuff. So, in terms of my background, I started my career in the high-tech industry, working in when I just finished college in one of the growing high-tech companies in Israel. In parallel, basically, I founded my first D2C brand, and this is where I kind of joined into the e-commerce industry. So over 10 years in the e-commerce industry, I started from crowdfunding. So we did one of the biggest campaign ever been done in design category in Kickstarter and Indiegogo. We are talking about 2017. And this is where, by the way, the name of the brand is Apricot. Is still live and a fully operational brand that I bootstrapped to multi-million-dollar operations. And this is where I dive into the world of D2C operations. Basically, I found myself with, huge campaign in Kickstarter that we did 2.5 million, sold to 14,000 end clients in 80 countries. And yeah, that starts. So this is where I learn everything on logistics and how to fulfill and how to manage the supply chain of global operations. And as a founder and also with a technology background, it's always the operational side of business was always a black hole or like a black box for me, because I always felt that there is a lot of friction in the business side of operation. I don't have visibility to the cost. I don't know what I'm paying for. Just like money in, money out. I don't know if the orders are arrived to the client on time, stock orders, delayed orders. We always figure out the frictions from the client side. They're already upset and we have the issues. And I think as the world of D2C changed, and we've been through everything, right? From COVID, extreme growth, iOS 14, over financing, over inventory. Really, I think that every friction in the business, we kind of marked the V. So we've been there and done everything that possible. And it's definitely changed that and I think that the industry in whole looking on how to manage D2C brand from operation that was based on growth and performance. We put $1 in marketing, we get 4x. Wow, amazing. Who cares if few package will delayed or the client will not be happy? We're just going to acquire a new one. To an environment that you must be profitable, and it's so expensive to acquire a client that you must maintain him, to use retention, to provide the best service possible. And for me, the missing piece of the operation was always a kind of the darker place of the business. So I built my own tools and methodologies that later on was become so powerful for me as a brand that I decided to basically change the way any D2C brand managed their operations. And this is how Octup was come to life. And Octup, basically what we're doing, we build the first operational platform for e-commerce brand. And we set the vision to help any brand in any D2C operation, e-commerce operation, to do it in a better way, to optimize their activity. Octup was founded in the mid of 2022. And basically what we're doing in Octup, we are collecting a lot of data from a lot of data sources. So from your commerce platform, marketplaces, marketing, but also, and this is our unique side, all of your operational activities. So we are connecting to dozens of integration from WMS to the ability to read your invoices. So basically, one of the biggest problems that we identified in the relationship between the brands to their 3PL is how they can get the better visibility about their invoicing side, because there is a lot of ways to distribute invoices, but most of the time is very complicated invoices that very hard to read, to understand. So we build a technology that can basically digest any invoice in any format. But the real power is the ability to connect this data to other data sources, to your marketing effort, to your commerce data, etc., and to show you in a very clear way in near real time what is the opportunity that you have. And we are taking all this data and we present it in a different way. And we have AI insight layer on top of all this data to provide a client different level of insight about his operations and to show him where you can save money and increase profitability. So this is kind of on the brand side. On the 3PL side, and basically what we discovered is that there is a huge opportunity to add additional layer on the 3PL and to work directly with our partners. When we started the journey, we basically realized that partnership will be a key success to our growth, because we both work in direct with brands, but the ability to get reach to a bigger audience was to come from the partner side. So as Drew mentioned, we basically started to build our relationship with the logistic partners. That was, for us, was naturally the way to go, because we are focusing on the operational side of the T2C area. And when we started to work with those partners, we always looked for the opportunity to create a better engagement. And this is where we basically build the 3PL platform. And what we are doing in the 3PL platform, and we are focusing today on this side of business because we really see huge growth and amazing value and feedback, is that we basically offering our 3PLs partner to take Octup as a branded solution and to provide it to be additional layer of technology to their service. So think about it, that you get our platform fully branded to your 3PL with your logo, your domain, and you're providing your client with the access to our platform, and they basically can get additional layer of value, a technology layer for you as a 3PL to get all this amazing data and the way to better manage their operations. And we saw, and Drew maybe can share a little bit more, that it's highly create more engagement between the brand to the 3PL. It's reduced churn. It gives them a lot of value. And for you as a 3PL, it's also create a competitive advantage that now you have an amazing technology layer that you can provide as part of your service. When we started to work with our clients, first the feedback was amazing. So we were growing very fast. We realized that we can solve also a lot of problems in the 3PL side. And this is where, John, for your question, we build an UI and admin panel for the 3PL himself, so he can get back part of the business data of his client. So we'll be able to actively manage your client, to see frictions, to make sure that he can predict some behavior of the client itself, and to better manage your labor, but also proactively manage the client. And one of the biggest pain point that we saw is that it's really painful for 3PL to lose a client, to get a churn, and specifically if it's for a cheaper offer. So we want to give the 3PLs the ability to get a very unique access to their data, but also to proactively manage their clients. So it's a win-win-win situation. And we are working on a lot of other surprises on the 3PL side to better deep dive to the 3PL world and to provide what we call the 3PL suite to better manage the 3PL operations, but also the relationship between the 3PL and the client.
Very interesting there, and I like surprises, so interested to see what those surprises will be coming in the future. But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting because you've taken the recognition and recognizing that on the brand side there was a need to have this type of data visibility, and then understanding too that on the fulfillment provider side you also benefit from having this same visibility, right? Or being able to provide the brand that visibility. And I was able to get a demo and see how it works and see what kind of visibility you have from Mikey, who's in the audience. Hey there, Mikey. And I think it's really great to be able to see these different types of data points and have this understanding when, sometimes as the fulfillment provider, you're kind of relying on the brand a little bit to tell you what's going on. And, like as John mentioned, like maybe you have something going on and it's just this like spike that seems maybe random of volume or demand that wasn't necessarily always communicated as well. I mean, I know even in my past, I worked for a large corporation, multi-billion-dollar corporation, and they didn't even communicate that they were going to have a sale to their 3PL. So, there's definitely a gap in that aspect where you lack some of that visibility. So I'm curious to hear from Drew, I guess, your thoughts on Octup and I guess what really caught your attention when you first learned about this as an option for your 3PL.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Kevin. And Elon and them have been a great partner for us. I think we've been, Mikey in the audience here was the dude that connected with me. Gosh, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe beginning of this year, maybe even, I don't know when it was. And I most of the time when you're networking with guys, you look at it and you're like, okay, cool. We can share leads back and forth or whatever. And then I was just like, you know what? I wonder if there's an opportunity for us as Deliverzen to work with these guys. And we kind of came up with the ideas like, all right, what if, Deliverzen covers the costs and handles it here? Because as I mentioned, we're trying to early on, it's like our mission is to deliver the best service in the order fulfillment industry. Anybody can pack a box. Anybody can do those things. If they're not partnering with you to build your brand and to help run your entire operations, then it's going to be kind of a cluster for you and you're going to end up managing some logistics anyway. So our intent was to provide something as a separating factor as us just to offer our best service, cover the costs for Octup for our customers, which is exactly what we're doing now, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And so the benefit of that was just us being able to not only say, hey, we're fully transparent or we have this pricing that's simple and all this kind of stuff to understand, hey, we'll give you custom reporting on inventory financials. We'll do whatever you want to do, all that stuff that the industry's always sold, which is all true, but it's really difficult to, like when a sales rep sells it, it sounds simple, but then when it gets in there, it's actually really difficult to happen. Octup has made those promises that we've made to customers a lot easier for us to live fully transparently and show them we are living up to our contractual obligations of SLAs we're doing, or we're going above and beyond, or, here's our invoices to show you. Here's a digestible look at your invoices to help you audit those. We get on our calls. We're going to start using Octup on our calls. I mentioned a little bit earlier to help use those dashboards that they have and they build out. The thing about Octup that I love the most, Kevin, to probably answer your question, is the fact that it allows me to have a breath of fresh air saying, okay, our customers are going to have some more peace of mind when they're working with us because they can literally see every step of the process, not just operationally through our WMS partner, which is incredible too as well. Just Ship Hero, give a shout out to those guys, but through Octup showing on the back end of like, okay, here's what Deliverzen did and here's what they build us for. Here's the SLA performance they have. It's been pretty nice just to be able to say, hey brand, here's our performance and here's how we build this out for you. And then you guys can see it and on a call, and hold us accountable to that and just to be able to live up to what we're doing. So, and it helps build that partnership relationship a lot more too. So
interesting. Yeah. I think that's great to be able to have that as that tool. Like you said, because earlier in the conversation, right, you mentioned, these brands all have different personalities, right? And I'm sure there's brands that, they want to go deeper and see like more things, right? And those different things. So I think, it's great to be able to have these visualizations to show them and that further transparency, like you said, you were aiming for and being able to do. I'm curious, like if you look back, I guess before Octup, like how were you kind of capturing this data or attempting to capture this data and give like this level of visibility to the brand?
Yeah. So the as far as inventory reporting, that was pulling reports from our systems, Excel sheets, and physical counts, a lot more physical counts. We have a pretty good ICQA process in place where we're getting through every customer fully physical twice a year is what we do internally already. So we were doing that already, but we were having to pull a bunch of Excel sheets data, do some analysis just to kind of, sail through analysis for sexual receiving or inventory on hand, which was fun. And we still do those things, but the Octup has made that part a lot more simple because customers can see their financial reporting way easier and ahead of that. So the way we handle what was the second part of your question you talked about? You talked about how we handle these things.
Like in the past before Octup, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. So really mainly was just pulling reports and then doing it through Excel. There's kind of doing any type of audits on that side of that, physical inventory counts, on-demand physical inventory counts for customers. We've reduced that significantly because we've been able to just show customers a lot more just their financial inventory reporting, which is nice. Bigger customers, they want that. Bigger customers are going to want how much money they actually have with us. Their accounting team wants that and anything they're filing every month. So it makes it a lot more clean for us. So those are probably some of the ways I'd probably address it. It's definitely reduced our anxiety over some of the labor tasks that we have when it comes to managing these types of reporting for customers.
I want to add from a brand side, I'm going to wear the founder brand hat right now. I think that one of the challenges for me working with my 3PL is that we always found ourselves opening support ticket, like, where's this order? Why did you build us on that? Can you explain this inventory? Why did the inventory going down, but the storage is keep going up or the same price? And I think that one of the goals for us in Octup is to reduce this friction, right? To make the picture to be much more clear for both sides, specifically for the brand, so we know exactly what's going on the 3PL side, be able to answer his own question. And by providing the full picture, like from, as Drew mentioned, that the finance side of the business, of the billing, but also by connecting to the WMS to show him in a much nicer way and connected to his sales platform where all his operational activities happening in a multi-channel environment. When you add the marketing stuff and all the extra value, when you're looking on the 360 picture, when you're managing all of the business sales in one place, it's just both reducing a lot of friction and a lot of a bad communication between the client to the 3PL, and give you as a branch much more confident that you're working with a partner that's here to grow with you, and you don't need to be afraid that there is some hidden stuff behind the scene that you're not aware. So we're reducing this feeling that I know personally from the industry and friend that I have, that always floating around that there is something going on there that I don't know. There's probably a lot of issue that I'm not aware of. Probably they're charging me on something that I didn't need to. So we just eliminate this, and it's create much more, I was saying, trust between your partner, your 3PL provider, and to you as a brand. And I think that there is a big win here in terms of the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. That trust is huge, and I think it's great that you're creating this tool that allows you to have that better trust. And I think, it comes down to it. I mean, trust in this type of relationship. I mean, it comes down to like that transparency and visibility, and the transparency, which you mentioned, Drew, that you were aiming for and going after utilizing this tool and being able to do that. I think is such a great thing to have, because at the end of the day, I mean, the numbers don't really lie in a sense if they can see the same thing that you're seeing and you're able to share that. And, just on both sides of the table, I think it makes that relationship so much better. I'm curious too, from, both of your perspectives, if you look at something like this and utilizing a tool like this, I mean, has it shifted you from being, and maybe enable you to be more proactive than reactive in some cases, would you say, Drew?
I think so, man. It's more so we're still pretty early on using Octups to its full potential for us. Mm-hmm. The thing about what we have, the way we look at it is we're building out a lot of internal tools with just ways to be able to be proactive on helping our customers. Octup has allowed our customers more so, rather than us having to reach out to a customer saying, hey, here's something we're facing, or here's some inventory counts we're doing. Octup has allowed our customers to be a little more transparent or a little more proactive on their end to see our work that's happening more in real time a little bit. So they can log into our systems and see all different transactions at different points of time. But Octup gives them a little bit more peace of mind on a weekly basis as we're running the show for them, running the operations for them. It just kind of gives them that. So the proactivity of it, as far as an operational side, it's less about being proactive and like in the future for a customer, but more so allowing them to see us more in the moment. If they see any big changes or something to their inventory control or numbers they have in there, they can see that almost immediately. Because I think Elon can talk more about this, but they are integrating into our system, which is nice, pulling numbers. And they also integrate into customers' selling platforms, which is really cool. So they're getting a lot of different features or a lot of different feeds of data. But for us, it's more allowing just our customers to see us almost in real time when it comes to inventory control and any other type of SLAs that we have for them.
Nice.
So I mentioned, Kevin, there is surprises coming in. So Octup solution is going to be dramatically in a different stage in the near future. So we're going to announce an amazing features for the 3PLs themselves. So Drew, there is a lot what to expect that blow your mind in terms of what can bring you back on top of what we already did.
Oh, I like it. What a tease! Can we get a little bit of meat there?
Yeah. So we understand that we can provide some insight back to the 3PL, that we can help to audit some of the work, like the billing, to make sure that there is no mistakes in the way. A lot of amazing stuff, because our uniqueness is the ability to see the both side of the activity, right? So we connected to the WMS of the 3PL, but we also see the data of the brand. So this unique connection is able us to connect the dots and to see the full picture. And this is where we see the value in our unique opportunity to provide a value for both sides. So, right, the client getting an amazing platform that he don't need to acquire it outside. If the 3PL and most of our clients decided to bear the cost, it's not high cost. Is for 3PL is kind of neglected cost. And for the 3PL itself, we can send back some amazing data so he can plan better his work, and to, for example, to know what is the financial healthiness status of this brand. If, I don't know, maybe they're dying, maybe they're exploding, what is the situation there, by not just to get this data, but to better serve them. And this is where we see the opportunity, and this is where we're going to.
Interesting. How do you feel about that, Drew?
I think it's great. I think what Elon's building out, I'm pretty stoked about what they're doing. I got a pretty good relationship with Mike. He's on here, and those guys are just he's filling me in on some of the stuff that they're building out. He can't give me all the inside scoop like Elon just kind of talked about, but to see what they're doing, I think the cool thing about what I've noticed about Elon and their company is that early on when I worked with Mikey, like I mentioned, it was like, hey, how can we work together, just from sharing leads and all that networking, to like, hey, Mikey, what can you guys do with us as a partner with you guys? And then they've pivoted to really focus heavy on optimizing for the 3PL, which is really awesome. A lot of software providers don't necessarily, they either focus on brands or they focus on the 3PL. With what these guys do, they were agile enough to really kind of meet us what we were asking for. And it sounds like Elon's really building that out, which is pretty awesome. So I'm actually really excited to kind of see what's coming in the near future. And obviously I hope to be more of hope to get to be the beta on a lot of these things and test a lot of this stuff out. And,
For sure.
Hint. Yeah. All right. So very interesting to hear about that, and definitely exciting to see the continued updates on that. So I think, why don't we kind of bring it maybe full circle here and kind of talk about, from Drew, your perspective, as you've now brought in Octup and you'll be using Octup into the future. How are you leveraging that to, differentiate yourself when you're trying to win new clients? And then how are you ultimately leveraging some of this data visibility to help you increase your margins as a 3PL?
Totally. So first off, Octup has given us the ability to not only say we're fully transparent, but because everybody says they are, and they genuinely are, but really from a brand's perspective of when you're facing guys, I'm 35 years old. A lot of the e-com world is in that these guys are in that, let's just say 30 to 45 range nowadays or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say, hey, you're fully transparent, like, okay, cool. And then you give them an Excel sheet. They're like, how do I digest this Excel sheet? Well, that's one of the things with Octup's come in. It's like, hey, they've made it easy to really see the transparency of the pricing and inventory, which is super nice. So we're showing that on sales calls, which is awesome. It's helped us. We have closed, man, what is it now? I don't know how many brands in the past eight months or so. We had 11 in the first quarter. We've done more since then. And Octup has been nice because it's one of those features that we can, here recently, we've been able to add into our sales calls that customers really like, every single one of them. I've got 4 leads that's one of the deciding factors that they're going to go with us, which is super nice. It's not necessarily Octup by itself, but being able to say, hey, here's what we do, or here's who we are, here's our pricing, is everything, and then be able to say, hey, we're going to prove this out with you by holding ourselves accountable, by paying for and giving you this free tool through Octup, which is super nice. So that's been a huge factor for us to be able to show that. The biggest thing is, like, I'm not right now, we're building, Deliverzen's on steady control growth. We're not taking on VC money behind it, which is not a problem. None of that's bad stuff, by the way. Just the strategy that we're going in is we're not taking in investing or anything like that. We want steady control growth. And so we're trying to make sure we invest with the right partners that can help meet our needs and serve our customers well with that. And Octup's been one of those ways that has allowed us to just say, hey, back up our word, to say this is what we do, and we're going to prove it to you through showing you as much as we can with inside of operation and what we bill you for and everything we do.
Awesome to hear that, and congratulations on those wins this year and the continued growth. Elon, why don't you tell us kind of a little bit about what to expect for the future and how people can learn more about Octup if they're interested?
I'm saying that I just want to say thank you for Drew and all the Deliverzen team. And I think that it's amazing to work with good people, but it's also amazing to have fun along the way. So to work with Drew and the team was amazing experience from our side. And as he mentioned, we've been through a journey with them, and they were part of our early adapters. So this is the opportunity kind of to thank and to say it's amazing to work with you guys. And I think that looking forward, one of the things that I personally really believe is that we have a huge, unique opportunity to create something very outstanding for the 3PL side. And we're going to invest a lot providing value back to the 3PL. I can tell you that we are, as I speak, working on very unique features that can save tons of times and a lot of money for the 3PLs, but automate certain tasks that related to the communication with the clients. And our ability to see the full picture provide us to do this connection. So really kind of looking forward, if I'm looking at both sides of the equation, making sure that on the brand side, getting more and more value. For example, we just launched a few days ago our custom dashboard feature that they can build their own reports from hundreds or even thousands of metrics from different data sources that we have, including the WMS data, and to build their own business questions. And this is very unique and very, I will say, a high value feature. And to go deeper on the value side from the client perspective, but also and mainly to create the admin for the 3PL to get all the level of value that we mentioned in the call. And we literally build here kind of the middle layer between the WMS to the client, that there is a whole new world of opportunities there. So a lot of exciting things coming ahead. So stay tuned. And again, you can reach out to me, Mikey, visit our website, and to stay in touch.
All right, awesome. And
are we taking any more questions? Because I see there's one person there that might be. I'm not sure we want to take his.
Yeah,
question.
do we want to take his question, Aaron? I don't know. What's up, Aaron?
There's no question. I just wanted to say thank you for putting this on, Kevin and Drew. I know you pretty well and alone. I'm very familiar with Octup, but I didn't know to what extent you're working with the 3PLs in that level and that detail. And so it's really cool. And I think something that personally resonated with me as a seller that's worked for, the big 3PL in the past is that one of the biggest reasons why relationships in the 3PL space break down is because of a lack of either transparency or sales rep says X and the execution is Y. And ultimately the power that you can give 3PLs and their sales reps to actually have data to back up their claims, so it's not just all fluff and empty promises, I think is going to hopefully change the connotation around people leaving their 3PL or just wanting to stay and stick it out. So more than a question, more than just a comment. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you for that, for sure. I think this is our vision, and exactly as you mentioned, this is what we are planning to do. Appreciate it, Aaron.
All right. Thank you, Aaron, for that. And thank you for chiming in here. So I think we'll wrap it up here. And Elon, if people want to learn more about Octup, what's the best way to do that?
So you can visit our website, of course, octup.com. You can reach privately to me or Mikey here, that Mikey is bravely leading all our go-to-market efforts. So any channels that you like, or reach out to Alon, ALON at octup.com is also the best way.
All right. Awesome. And Drew, if someone is listening and they're looking for a 3PL that has great transparency, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. You can email either myself directly, Drew Horner at deliverzen.com if you're looking for something, or you can go visit our website, deliverzen.com is right there. We can reach back out to you very quickly for you guys to make sure we get you guys settled up and taken care of.
All right, awesome. And thank you both for joining me today. And thank you to the audience as well that joined in. So it was a pleasure having Drew and Elon here join, as well as the folks that chimed in with some questions and comments. So thank you both again, and have a great day. Enjoyed this episode? Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. And for more content from the new warehouse, find us on LinkedIn and YouTube. Links to subscribe can be found in the show notes. And for everything The New Warehouse, head to thenewwarehouse.com.